Hello and welcome to the weekend edition of National Focus. I'm Pearl Fontaine. Thank you for joining us. Topping the headlines, Dominica praised for its sterling contribution towards the success of the OECS. Prime Minister Skerritt reiterates his commitment to the One China policy and the 2014 Pidit-Savan reunion moving full steam ahead. Stay with us for these stories and more right after the break.
Hey, I had a good time in town last week with a pretty girl, man.
Hey, carry me next time when you're going now.
Where we get paid Friday, we gonna go.
Careful, they might catch AIDS.
AIDS? Them girl pretty. Them girl can't get AIDS,
I
man.
think it's only ugly women have AIDS. Anybody could get it. If you get sick, what you can tell your wife?
Hey, your wife, come in.
Hey, change the topic. Change the topic.
Your family depends on you. Don't take home AIDS.
Do you have uncovered water storage drums around your home? Do you dispose of old tires, cans and old containers capable of holding water anywhere in your environment? Are you being bitten by mosquitoes, particularly at dusk and early morning? Do you keep houseplants in water? Do you spend your hard-earned cash to control mosquitoes? Has your community experienced dengue fever outbreaks? If your answer is yes to at least 3 questions above, you are at risk to dengue fever. Join the fight against dengue fever. The responsibility for a dengue-free Dominica lies with you. So, get rid of the Aedes aegypti mosquito.
Welcome back. Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerritt has offered his sincere congratulations to Miss Dominica 2013, Les Lassa Armour Shillingford, in recognition of her achievements on the international stage. In a letter to Miss Armour Shillingford, the Prime Minister stated, and I quote, "On behalf of the government and people of the Commonwealth of Dominica, my wife, and on my own behalf, I have the honor to extend sincere congratulations to you on your accomplishments thus far in the 2013 Miss World competition." End quote. Prime Minister Skerritt said that Miss Armour Shillingford has certainly done herself and the country proud by gracing the Miss World stage and placing the Commonwealth of Dominica on the world map. He added, and I quote, "This feat can only be accomplished through considerable effort and dedication on your part and that of your team. Undoubtedly, that determination has paid off, and I am sure that your exemplary achievement will make a positive difference in the lives of young Dominican women, particularly those aspiring to follow in your footsteps." In an effort to have the entire Dominican population view in support of yourself, I have asked Mappin to waive the pay-per-view charge to its consumers. The government, in that regard, will make a contribution to the company to defray some of its costs in airing the event. I have intervened because I have also placed some votes in your favor. End quote. In closing, the Prime Minister extended best wishes to Miss Dominica for continued success in the 2013 Miss World competition, as well as her future endeavors. Parliament will meet on Monday, September 30th to elect a new president for the Commonwealth of Dominica. This was confirmed on Wednesday by Dominica's Prime Minister, Honorable Roosevelt Skerritt. The Dominica leader told reporters that the government's nominee is former National Security Minister, Honorable Charles Savrin.
The government of Dominica has taken a decision to put forward his name as the nominee for the post of President of the Commonwealth of Dominica. And we intend to go to Parliament on Monday, the 30th of September, to elect a president to serve a 5-year term. We expect there to be the inauguration of Mr. Savrin as president on the 1st of October 2013.
Mr. Charles Savrin resigned from the cabinet to take up the post of president. The resignation of the former minister and senator came into effect on Tuesday, September 24.
Honorable Charles Savrin has resigned from his post of a cabinet minister, and he's also resigned as a senator in the House of Assembly. He has since written to the President and also to the Speaker of the House, resigning. His resignation took effect on Tuesday the 24th of September. And as you know, Mr. Savary is a former school teacher, a former trade union leader, a former ambassador, a former minister, a former member of parliament, who has been part of the social, political and economic architecture of Dominica spanning more than 4 decades. And he has served the cabinet from 2000, very, very well. We've always appreciated his contribution there, and of course we will be missing in the cabinet. And no doubt the country is very much aware of his own contributions to Parliament and the debates in Parliament. And he has always raised the bar in terms of debates and articulating several issues on matters which have come before the Parliament from time to time. One can say that Mr. Savary is an elder statesman in many respects.
In other news, Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit has reaffirmed his government's position on the One China policy. The Dominica leader did so when he addressed a reception in commemoration of the 64th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China earlier this week.
In respect to the One China policy, it is no secret that Dominica and this government adheres to the One China policy, which is the basis of our relationship. Anybody who speaks about there being to China is not in keeping with the realities of the world and, of course, the laws of the international, of the UN. Because China is, in fact, there's but one China, of which Taiwan is a part of. And as I've said to Your Excellency, I've said to your President and to your Premier, Dominica will assist in any way it can towards the peaceful reunification of the whole of China.
Prime Minister Skerrit stated that his government also stands firm against imperialist approaches.
You spoke about the fact that China has been invaded in the past by imperialist nations. And while you as a country continues to ensure that imperialism is rooted out in the world, we in the Caribbean and we in Dominica continue to stand in defense of imperialist approaches by certain countries. Countries which we believe that we do not have a right to determine our own destiny as small island states, that we must speak from prepared notes from foreign. And this is a very important principal position that all of us must take as citizens. It's not about being left or being right or being center right or center left. It is about a matter of principle, of which Dominica ascribes to, and I'm happy that China also subscribes to.
The relationship between the two countries, according to the Prime Minister, will inevitably continue to grow. In more news, outgoing Director General of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, Dr. Len Ishmael, has thanked Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit for his role and support to the success of the OECS. Dr. Ishmael, who will demit office at the end of the year to take up a new position in Brussels in January next year, is on a farewell visit to Dominica in her current capacity. As part of her agenda, the OECS Chief Executive Officer met with members of the media on Thursday.
The support of Dominica has been just incredible. It's been incredible professionally, it's been incredible personally. This is the administration that I have worked most closely with, in Dominica. The personal support of the Prime Minister, of his cabinet, of his officials, of the people of Dominica to the work of the organization has been second to none. Dominica stands for integration, understands the importance of it. Dominica has stood firm when it's needed to, even as we tried to push the envelope on the regional front and agenda, and is demonstrating a real leadership role.
She took the opportunity to recount on the gains realized by the organization over the past 10 years.
It comes as no surprise if I were to say that the last 10 years have been really, truly quite a journey for us as citizens in the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. this region of 600,000 people. I think it's also fair to say that 10 years ago, perhaps, we were not as self-assured as we are today. We were perhaps not as assured of the vision that we had for the future. Whilst we were very clear that in terms of functional cooperation, we've always done quite a lot together, there was still perhaps a perception that there were things we could be doing deeper in terms of deeper forms of cooperation together. I think it is also fair to say that over the last 10 years, much has been accomplished. That's not to say there isn't still quite a lot of work that needs to be done. But the fact of the matter is that from 2008, when it was very clear that a global recession was upon us, we took the bull by the horns and, in fact, accelerated the rate and the pace of our own economic integration.
The formation of an economic union has been identified by Dr. Ismail as a hallmark achievement of the organization.
In 2008, when it was very clear that the financial crisis was upon us, many member states and many countries around the world took steps away from the principle of integration and became very nationalistic in their own views about the world. In the OECS, we did something that was remarkable and quite different. We accelerated the pace of deepening the union between us, and we formed an economic union. I think it's fair to say that a lot has been accomplished since the revised Treaty of Basse-Terre was signed into domestic law some 2 years ago. OECS people now have the rights of movement. An economic union, however, is not something which is done overnight. Certainly the experience of the European Union in this regard is pretty instructive, in that whilst we have much of the institutional architecture of an economic union, we have a single currency, we have single authorities for telecommunications, for civil aviation, we have a single Supreme Court, for example, we have had joint diplomatic missions since 1986. The fact of the matter is the process of ensuring that an economic union delivers on its promise is really one which takes quite a bit of time to deliver on all aspects of an economic union. What I'm essentially saying is that whilst we have established an economic union, the journey continues.
In speaking of other achievements, Dr. Ismail said that the OECS is being viewed by the international community as trailblazers for regional integration. She said that organization is more solid and focused than ever before. She highlighted that though lean in its operations, it has successfully responded to the mandates of the authority and broken new ground. Dr. Ismail concluded that regionally and internationally, the OECS is now viewed as an organization of sound repute and stature. Connecting families, uniting community is the theme for the upcoming 2014 Petite Savane reunion, which will host a number of activities throughout the year 2014, leading up to the main event scheduled for the last 2 weeks in December, nearing the Christmas holidays. Parliamentary representative for the Petite Savane constituency, Honorable Dr. Kenneth Daru, in a brief interview with GIS News, spoke about the planning aspect of the reunion from its conception.
This is an idea that myself and a number of other community members have been toying with for the past 2 to 3 years. And finally, we've managed to get it off the ground. We've managed to get it to put a very dedicated team of community members who, as I said, have been very dedicated to the cause, and I must from the onset reach out to them and to thank them very much, attending the meetings every weekend, especially towards the planning of this, what we call the official launch on October 5th, which is next Saturday. We have a number of our people living in the diaspora, England, the USA, in fact even Dominica, a lot of Petite Savane people who have not been home for quite a while. And we never having a reunion celebration before, we felt that the time was ripe to organize such an event. And of course we threw it out via social media, internet, Facebook, to get the response from our people out there, both local and foreign, and the response has been tremendous. So we decided we had a base to work with, so we decided to go ahead with it.
A number of community leaders and members were also part of the decision-making process for the reunion. And during the annual Pitit Savan Chapel Feast on October 5th this year, the reunion committee will stage the official launching of the 2014 reunion affair.
We planned the launching to coincide with the annual Fete Savan. Now, with the Fete Savan, the council organizes the Fete Savan every other year. So this year, in the absence of a not official Fete Savan, we think that doing it on the Saturday would create some sort of activity and entertainment for the Pitit Savan community.
According to the Pitit Savan MP, plans are moving swiftly towards the official opening carded for next weekend. He highlighted the people who were forthcoming with support, namely the sponsors.
We've already invited a number of the dignitaries. Hopefully the Prime Minister, if it is in state, should be present. The Minister of Community Development, the Minister of Culture. We're going to have a number of local acts because Pitit Savan seems to have a very, in terms of bands per capita, Pitit Savan probably the top in the world. We have a number of local bands, some established, some up and coming. So we felt that the program would consist mostly of the local bands. A number of corporate citizens and the government of Dominica had been on board in terms of the sponsorship. Dominica National Lottery continues to be of tremendous assistance to myself and other parliamentary representatives towards such village festivals and events. The government of Dominica, Petro-Carib, Lime, among others.
Claudius Lestrade, president of the reunion committee, described the whole purpose for bringing the community and families together during 2014.
We've targeted quite a scope of activities to include recreational, educational, sporting, community outreach programs. Because we've realized that the whole theme of our reunion is uniting families and connecting community. And we've realized the need to reunite families and to connect the community in which we reside. Thus, the reunion will be based mainly around this theme throughout the year 2014 and culminating in 2014 with maybe a monumental activity, something which the community can stand out and identify as this being what Reunion T7 2014 has come up with. So it's not only activity, but looking to footprint something that we can claim that this is what the reunion has really brought to the community.
One of the main objectives of the reunion, the committee president says, is to reach out to the youth of the community who have gone astray.
One of the main highlights of the reunion would be reaching out to the youth. We want to bring back the youth, which we've realized who has gone astray, which has been disoriented in terms of community spirit. I want to reach back out to them in some form of educational activity, starting with the school, starting with the children, having them identify who are their families, because we have kids in school who are among persons who their families, and they don't even realize that my brother, my sister, my cousin, a far relative is sitting to me next in the classroom. And if we can get this going from the grassroots, then we can really reunite the family and connect the community, which is our main theme.
Lestrade believes this is a perfect opportunity for members in the diaspora as well as locally to contribute in some form of way to reunion activities or even toward community projects.
We're looking to have our diaspora persons come back and leave a footprint, leave something that they can say they've contributed to the community, because we have quite a bit of people outside in the diaspora. And we don't only want to make it be an activity which is fun-filled, but something which we can say, okay, they've contributed towards the health center, towards an education of some unfortunate person, towards the building of a bus stop, something that the community. So this is what we really want to highlight.
Through social media and an impending T7 reunion website, members in the diaspora will be able to make financial contributions. The reunion committee has also established contact people in various countries that members of the diaspora can liaise with in this regard. Lestrade is hoping that the reunion will be a success.
I just want to take the opportunity to echo the sentiment to everybody. And as Dr. Darrow said, we have quite a bit of local diaspora like yourself, persons who reside in Dominica, or, maybe even more than outside here, that they should at least try to make the effort to come for the launching and contribute in what way possible, because we are all from Pitit Savan, and the whole theme to connect the family, unite the community is something we want to maintain throughout, and look at the reunion just as a stepping stone to go way beyond 2014, that after the reunion we will return. We will not just come for 2014, but that connection will continue and will maintain and stay with us as long as we have the breath of life.
An art gallery and clothing by a local seamstress will be on display as part of activities for the launching of the 2014 Tisavan reunion. At the CARICOM meetings held earlier this week, one participant in the private sector discussion highlighted implementation as one of the fundamental hindrances to the forward movement of the Caribbean community.
So, Mr. Chairman, that is one of the first things I propose for the new reviewed CARICOM Secretariat. An implementation officer or an implementation office. You know, Mr. Chairman, it's so nice and easy for the CARICOM people to say that, well, you know, we've done our work, we've presented the protocols, we've had it reviewed, and the governments have passed it at the regional level. But for some reason, it hasn't reached the stage of implementation at the intergovernment or individual government level.
Historian Dr. Lennox Honeychurch also made his contribution. He noted that as a historian, he has heard the subject of regional integration spoken of before. He drew reference to the ease of free movement in earlier days of the Federation. Honeychurch suggested that CARICOM become more specific in its targets in order to achieve as much as the OECS has accomplished over the years.
We have to choose some key areas, be very dynamic about it to show Caribbean people that CARICOM means something. We in the OECS have seen a great deal of activity. You know, we can travel with our social security cards within the islands. We have the same currency. All of the links, you know, and the work that is being done by the Secretariat in St. Lucia is so vital and active that we in the OECS are very much aware of this. But the CARICOM network has to really improve their performance and make it directly linked to the day-to-day lives and survival of the people of these territories.
And Jahisaya Benoit, president of the National Youth Council, also added his voice to the discussion. He spoke on the subject of sustainable development.
Sometimes it's okay to say, well, this, you know, it's a wish list, we need to focus here and there. But what happens when you focus on one particular issue too much is that you lose that sort of support. For example, when you only focus on the private sector and how it is that they see the integration to their benefit, they would want probably, you know, ease of access to external markets or regional markets and so on. But for young persons, we have different priorities. We have priorities like access to land, access to basic credit, access to adequate tertiary education. So how are you going to keep us interested in this vision that you will now design for CARICOM? That's why I think that sustainable development, as you rightfully stated, that should be key in terms of any vision that will be stated. It must be there.
Several other matters of interest were brought up by the public, including crime and security, transportation, banking and finance, and free movement. Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit has described this week's two-day Geothermal Donors Forum as successful. The forum, which ended in Dominica on Friday, was an opportunity for local, regional, and international partners to gain insight on the progress made thus far on government's geothermal project.
The intention there was to share with our friends, our partners, the whole gamut of information we have in respect to the geothermal, and to hear from them based on their experiences in advancing geothermal projects in other jurisdictions. What are some of the things the government of Dominica should be mindful of, both positive and negative sides of things in moving forward, so that when we move forward, we're moving forward with well-informed, with excellent professional advice, so that we can have a project which would minimize any of the negative downsides that you will have in any project of that magnitude.
The Dominica leader told reporters on Friday that the development partners at this week's forum voiced a commitment to support government's quest to take advantage of the geothermal resource in the Roseau Valley.
The institutions represented have sent very senior people within the organizations, people who are directly involved in the matters relating to geothermal, and who could speak with some degree of authority from the principals on their own organization's role or intentions of the part that they can play.
Meantime, project manager of the Agence Française de Développement, Arnaud de Marchelier, has voiced support for government geothermal program. Agence Française de Développement has provided support for over 6 years to the geothermal program in Dominica.
From our point of view, this is one of the best projects we can even think about. The impact will be tremendous both in Dominica but also abroad, and we really think that it is worth supporting this project. At the same time, this is a difficult project. We have multiple partners. You have a government, you have the people of Dominica, you have the private investors, and you have the partners of the government of Dominica. And this is a very complex project, and this can explain why it takes so much time to develop. And we have to be aware that it won't be a simple and straight line that will lead to, at the end of the day, all the production capacity that we hope to develop. We have been working with the government for a long time. We provided some funding. We're trying to provide some technical assistance at the same time, and we do want to stand by the government over the long term. This is an incredible project.
More on the Geothermal Donors Forum in Monday's newscast. On Thursday, Lime launched the 11th edition of the Lime Creole in the Park. This event has grown to become a major attraction in Dominica's independence celebrations over the years. Honorable Ian Douglas, Minister for Tourism, praised the telecommunications company for its role played in assisting the Ministry of Tourism reach its target of 90,000 visitors by 2015.
The Ministry of Tourism, as Mr. Piper have just noted, have set a target of 90,000 visitors, stayover visitors, by 2015. The event is a superb opportunity to increase stayover tourists during that period and further complements Lime's position as the leading telecommunications provider in Dominica.
Chief Cultural Officer Raymond Lawrence, in his brief remarks, commended Lime for being a big supporter of culture in Dominica. He says Lime has contributed to the development of the country by providing jobs for persons with skills in the arts. Honorable Justina Charles, Minister for Culture, also commended Lime for their participation in the first ever Creole Symposium in Dominica.
This year signifies a special milestone in Creole. This year, Dominica joins with other countries of the Creole Community of Nations to celebrate the 30th anniversary of International Creole Day, which is usually marked on the 28th of October. One of the signature events to mark this anniversary is the convening of a Creole Symposium and Exposition here in Dominica from 22nd to the 24th of October. This event will be attended by individuals and representatives of institutions from various countries that share in common the French Creole heritage. This event coincides with Creole in the Park, and as such, Lime has kindly consented to partner with the Ministry of Tourism and Culture to stage this event.
Every year, Lime contributes $1 of every gate receipt to the National Cultural Council and also donates to the Division of Forestry for the upkeep of the Botanical Gardens. A contribution of $59,000 was presented to the Forestry Parks and Wildlife Division and over $20,000 to the NCC. Lime presented its lineup for Creole in the Park this year, which celebrates the achievements of local artists. Local acts includes Dice and Fitzroy Williams, the Rough and Ready Band, Asa Banton, Ecstasy Band, Swinging Stars, and the Midnight Groovers. And that's the English segment of the news. We now join McPherson St. Luce for the Creole highlights.
Allô tout le monde, bienvenue à ces nouvelles en créole. Non moins, c'est McPherson St. Luce. Premièrement, Dominique et puis People's Republic of China qui célèbre 10 l'année depuis ces deux pays établi relations diplomatiques 9 l'année qui passée. Parole cela sorti votre Premier ministre Honorable Roosevelt Skerritt pendant la réception 64 anniversaire China plus bonne semaine cela. C'est le Premier ministre Skerritt, Dominique Ketchen commitment cela été fait 9 l'année qui passée. Honorable Skerritt fait parole qui à China c'est un pays qui est bien formidable si l'on bagaille qui a continué on la terre. Il dit malgré China ni autant challenge, yo wan man ka assister pays on la terre. Premier ministre Skerrit aussi annoncé que des délégations China à Dominique à présent qu'a finalisé le plan pour l'école primaire Charlottesville et puis l'hôpital neuf Princess Margaret en Roseau. En la nouvelle, le gouvernement Dominique signe agrément et puis en compagnie Iceland pour commencer la production well projet géothermique. Parole celle-là sortie du ministre Énergie Honorable Ribbon Blackmore.
Même compagnie là qui était fouillée c'est petit toit pour nous Dominique. Nous aussi si on contacte avec eux. Nous commencé à partir de go to her sur la production well là, reduction well là. En mois octobre. Quand nous avons parlé, nous avons aussi fait investigation sur le environmental impact assessment là. Pour go to her et reduction to her. Et bien nous ni espoir. Assessment ça qui est fini avant de commencer à partir go to her et petit toit. Pour nous plan pour bouger notre production well. Et bien nous avons bâti production là, et bien reduction là. Ça veut dire nous bien servis comme ça nous avons pas de compte. Et bien nous avons un plan pour avancer l'énergie à Dominique. Et bien nous savons que l'information est bien pour nous à Dominique.
Agrément aussi signé et puis foncé pour le projet là.
Agrément nous signé sur le Interreg Freebie. Et bien Interreg Freebie ça est bien important pour l'autre phase là projet à faire. Nous avons quitté phase test là, nous avons les phase développement là à présent. Bâtir un plan, un petit plan. Et bien aussi, nous avons fait un assessment, environmental assessment impact study. Et bien, dans ça, nous allons taper sur hot, par ça, nous sommes aujourd'hui pour faire IAIA, et bien pour avancer le projet.
À la nouvelle réunion de Savane dans l'année 2014, qui base enfants et puis parents communauté salam qui vivent leur pays. Opportunité de reconnecter et puis famille à you ici en Dominique. Parole celle-là qui a sorti au Parlement, Honorable Dr. Kenneth Darrow.
Nous avons des citizens en diaspora là, qui les enfants, gros enfants, qui passent à Satisfaction, qui passent à Dominique. Ça c'est éveillé. Certainement, il y avait des parents qui parlent contre Savan, il y avait activité Savan. Nous avons une chance pour eux, mais ce monde vivre encore la vie longtemps. Parce que même si nous avançons en technologie, avec tout le monde, les computers, tablettes, TV, nous croyons que nous avons une activité anti-savane, c'est la vie simple. La vie simple, c'est une belle industrie qui est l'autre bitin qui me croit c'est mon avenir et enjoy.
Et puis finalement, le directeur général OECS, Dr. Len Ismaël, qui a visité le pays OECS pour DDD. Dr. Ismaël était en Dominique où là il joint et puis officier ici. Sinon, Dr. Ismaël, il bien plaisir quantité de travail était accompli pendant tout le travail. Et de plaisir mandat était tapé haute autorité OECS, tapé succès en bas management. Sinon, Dr. Ismaël, ça fait une décoration ce pays OECS là tapé autant attention et puis il bien plaisir pour ça. Ismaël a aussi tapé aux sources en neuf pour l'autorité OECS, bagaille et aussi bien plaisir pour. Plusieurs pays et puis organisations qui ont un support bien haut pour OECS, il y a notre achievement Dr. Ismaël. Dr. Ismaël qui a quitté le travail comme directeur pour prendre position en Bruxelles. Messieurs, mesdames, ça c'est tout pour Nouvelle en Créole pour à présent. Non, moi, c'est McPherson et Luce. Un bon week-end. Au revoir.
We now join Tanya Green for this week's edition of Flashback.
Thank you, Pearl. Time now for the major stories which made the news this week. CARICOM officials consulted with members of the local private sector. These consultations are part of the reform process, which is needed to effectively mobilize the community towards regional integration. We told you that the Benz Community Water Project is now underway. Residents there should benefit from pipe-borne water soon. And an ICT in Education Symposium took place in Dominica this week. Dominican-born Dr. Laurel John Baptist was the main facilitator. Government hosted a Geothermal Development Partners Forum to promote the viability of the geothermal energy development in the Roseau Valley. And Attorney General Levi Peter announced this week that Guyanese Kurt de Freitas QC, who was scheduled to take up the post of Director of Public Prosecutions of Dominica in November, declined the post. And we told you of news that the village of Calabishi will soon benefit from a modern police station. Also, 3 local bands will make a comeback for the 11th edition of Line Dominica's Creole in the Park, to be staged here next month. And Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerritt reaffirmed Dominica's commitment to the One China policy when Dominica joined in the celebration of the 64th anniversary since the establishment of the People's Republic of China. These were the major stories which made the headlines this week. It's now back to you, Pearl.
Up next, your tip of the day.
Do you have uncovered water storage drums around your home? Do you dispose of old tires, cans and old containers capable of holding water anywhere in your environment? Are you being bitten by mosquitoes, particularly at dusk and early morning? Do you keep houseplants in water? Do you spend your hard-earned cash to control mosquitoes? Has your community experienced dengue fever outbreaks? If your answer is yes to at least 3 questions above, you are at risk to dengue fever. Join the fight against dengue fever. The responsibility for a dengue-free Dominica lies with you. So, get rid of the Aedes aegypti mosquito.
The next time you rush out the door in the morning without something to eat, consider this. Skipping breakfast can set you up for overeating later in the day. A healthy AM meal, on the other hand, can give you energy, satisfy your appetite, and set the stage for smart decisions all day long. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. We always welcome your suggestions and comments. Drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm, or you can visit our website at news.gov.dm. On behalf of the entire news production team, I'm Pearl Fontaine. Thanks for watching and have a great weekend.